Hey, it's Dr. Shantae, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is the 1st of February, and the sun is shining. So, spring is working its way into the Midwest, even though it's still very cold outside. So, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I am being very intentional about slow living, just a slower pace of life. I think the past few years have been really frenetic. There's been a lot of chaotic energy. And in an attempt to regulate my nervous system, in an attempt to kind of recapture my focus, because I think that cell phone usage, it just kind of creates this dynamic where you are always looking for some form of stimulation, and it gets harder for you to just kind of like sit down and be without feeling anxious. And so I noticed that that was happening in myself, didn't like it at all. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm a Gen Xer. Okay, I grew up in the 80s, and I did not grow up with cell phones. I did not grow up with tablets. I did not grow up with all of this technology that we get bombarded with today. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you five of the tools that I'm using to work my way back to a more balanced existence, more analog existence. And I can tell you right off the bat, it is doing wonders for my mental health. Keep watching. So if you have a cell phone, you have a calendar, and that is really how most of us schedule our appointments these days. We set these appointments, we get these reminders, which are very helpful because I be needing the reminders. But just in terms of seeing the bigger picture, because I don't like this feeling of like, what do I have to do today? What do I have to do today? What do I have to do today? My mind and my nervous system feels much more regulated when I can see the big picture. And so this guy, my big desk calendar, I literally sit down once a month. So I'll be doing it today. I will be sitting down and looking at the full map of all the things that I need to do. And I love this one. It's very simple. I picked this guy up from Walmart. I think this is from the Pen and Gear collection, but Walmart is coming up. I see you, Walmart. But Pen and Gear, and I love that it has space for me to put the dates in as I like. It has a canvas for me to color code certain things. And this gives me a sense of calm because February is a quick month. Like January feels long and people are like, January so long and January so gray and January, will we ever escape these winter doldrums? But I actually like January because it is slow and it kind of gives us an opportunity to recalibrate, to recover from the holidays, to winter. But February is the exact opposite. February is here today, gone tomorrow. Okay, so like boom, boom, super quick. So this desk calendar is one of my favorite tools to help me just see what lies ahead, make sure that nothing is creeping up on me. And it's just an aesthetic dream. What I like about it is that not only does it give you space to kind of like write the big things that are happening, but there's also a section up here for like your top priorities, and then another section down here for just kind of like notes. And I'm a big brain dump type person. I'm like, okay, what about this? What about that? What about the other? And so I use this section to make sure that nothing got left behind. And if it did, then I pull it over to the next month and make sure that I keep it top of mind. The next thing that I am just absolutely, it has become my precious. Has anybody ever seen like Lord of the Rings? The Precious. This is my precious. This is a pocket journal. Just a very simple pocket journal. And I did add some things to just make it easier to use. So it did not come with this pen holder, but I needed it so that I would not stretch out the elastic that keeps the book closed. But this guy, as you can see, I've already kind of like got tabs in it. And I love that it has a pocket in the back. So those 6 questions that I came up with to frame my year started in this journal. I have found a pocket journal to be a thinking companion. Sometimes we have so many thoughts and sometimes we have really good ideas, but so much is happening that it's like, it's fleeting. We can't catch it. It was there and then it wasn't. And I wanted to be able to craft my thoughts, to put them in some sort of organized fashion. And so if you look through this would look completely chaotic to you. But for me, it's an opportunity for me to go back and say, where was I going with this? What was I thinking about? I have a Substack, shameless plug, drshante.substack.com. I will make sure I put that down below. But I'm writing substantive pieces almost every single week. And those ideas often start right here, like a thread of an idea. And I've made lists of places that I want to visit. Because it's winter and because I teach a lot of classes for the college that I work for remotely. So I have made a list of places in Chicago that I want to kind of establish a home away from home for writing, for working, for grading. And this has just been a dream, an absolute dream. And because I am the type of person that when I wake up in the morning, I don't just wake up like, oh, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, hello, morning. That's not how my brain works. As soon as my eyes are open, you know, you got to send that email. You know, you got to create that content. You know, you got to edit that article. You know, you got to grade those papers. You know, it's just like this. And it cramps my style, quite frankly, because it's like I can't even enjoy the morning because all of these thoughts have come flooding into the foreground. And so I put them here. I call it my run of show. And my run of show allows me to get it all out. And then that way I am free to enjoy the rest of my day. So this guy goes with me everywhere. I actually have several of them because it's small and but mighty, but it also has limited space. So it comes like in a pack of 3 of them. And if you are interested in like this exact one, then I can certainly put that down in the links, or you can ask me questions all about it. So as I've mentioned, I grew up in the 80s, and do you know what was one of the highlights of my childhood? No pun intended. It was highlights. Highlights were children's like magazines slash puzzle books. And we used to have to try to find hidden objects in the pictures. It was fun. I absolutely loved, and my grandmother, God rest her soul, bought me a subscription to Highlights so that it would come directly to the house. And that, for me, probably started me down the nerdy path that I've been on ever since. But I love puzzles, and she was a puzzle person, and she spent many a days and many an hour doing crosswords and word searches and all the things. Like, one thing I can say about my grandmother, who lived till she was 95 years old, even at the end of her life, her mind was sharper than most. Okay, that's why it was one of the reasons why it was so difficult to let her go, because even though she was so old, even though she had lived so long, she was still so lucid. She was still so with it, and that was part and part due to the fact that she was always doing puzzles, always watching Jeopardy. So she had an appointment with Alex Trebek for decades, right at 3:30 Central Standard Time. So something else that has like really helped me kind of take a step back from all of the noise of the world are puzzle books. So these are Myrtles, and basically they are these logic puzzles. Basically, I am a murder mystery girly, so I have book walls in my house. And so like I have books that have kind of like romance, and I have books that have fantasy. I mean, walls that have a fantasy wall of books, and I also have a mystery wall of books. Love me a good murder mystery. Love me some Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie, Richard Osman, Veronica Speedwell mysteries. Like, love them. And so when I saw that there was an opportunity to kind of like figure out the clues and the whodunits. Myrtles do exactly that. But you can also buy highlights. Like if you have never heard of them or you grew up in the 80s, they still sell the highlights books. You can buy the New York Times crosswords, you can do the minis, but puzzles, that is, it's just a good time. It is a way to just kind of slow down. It is a way to engage and activate your brain in ways that scrolling and pinging and notifications just doesn't do. And so a lot of times I'll ask people, so what do you do for fun? And you would be surprised how often the answer is nothing. They don't do, they go to work, they come home. They go to work, they come home, they numb out, they watch TV, they scroll for hours and hours and hours on the phone, and then, they get up in the morning and do it all over again. It's like they're existing, but they're not living. There's no joy, there's no spark, there's no oomph. And so much joy can come right off of simple ways to engage your brain. So if you have ever been interested in puzzles or even board games, that sort of thing, I encourage you to get back to it. True story. Last year, one of the highlights of my year is I was invited to New York to be on Melissa Ford's podcast, Hot and Bothered. And I've been on there a couple of times now. And when she and I met, it was, she's such a girl's girl. It was such a good time. We were like, hey, a girl. I mean, we just had a complete blast. And Spotify Studios is a beautiful space at the World Trade Center. And we took some promo shots and things like that. And the photographer, as we were wrapping it all up, took these. You see these? That's me and Mel. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Hey. And it was an Instax printer. And I thought this was such an awesome memento because I was there for the U.S. Open. So this happened like in August. If you can't tell, I am very much a tennis girly. Very much a tennis girl. In fact, my name got pulled out of the draw to buy tickets to Wimbledon. So Lord willing and the creek don't rise. In a few months, I will do a little bit of a vlog capturing my experience in Wimbledon. Love some tennis. That is definitely a tribute to my grandma because she was such a tennis fan. I mean, I could do a whole video on my grandma's love of tennis, but I'm not. But the point is that these pictures, I said, this is what I'm talking about. This is analog. It's right up my street. And so I have been kind of like testing out various photo printers for my own journaling purposes. This one is the Kodak Retro, the Mini 2 Retro. It's, first of all, yellow is my favorite color. So it's totes adorbs. I love it. It's super cute. And the photo quality is pretty darn good. So this was kind of like just a sample photo that I had in my own phone. So what I like about it is that it's a hybrid of old and new. So it connects to Bluetooth and you can print photos directly from your phone and smack them into a journal. And so because it is February, I will be going through my phone. I will pick like 3 or 4 moments that I want to make sure that I capture and just kind of document in a meaningful way. And my photo printer allows me to do that without having to go to like Walgreens. And the cartridges themselves are pretty reasonably priced. And you can catch sales all the time. So photos, actual physical, tangible photos, instead of having 20,000 photos in your iPhone that you're never going to look at again. I think this is a nice, meaningful way to capture moments that matter. So we've talked about the big calendar. We've talked about the pocket journal. We have talked about my puzzle books and photo prints. And no analog conversation would be complete without a conversation about physical books themselves. So, as you know, I have a ton of physical books, and I love to just sit in my corner and read them. Sometimes for the sake of convenience, I will use an e-reader. So this is a Kobo Libra Color. I have a Kindle as well, and both of them, there's pros and cons to each of them. I love this guy. And somebody might argue like, well, an e-reader, is that really technically analog? It's certainly analog adjacent. It is single focus. It's single focused attention. There's nothing to do on this e-reader but read, okay, very much like a book. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, sometimes it's an accessibility issue. So it's like, okay, the print sometimes for some of these books is really small, and having an e-reader where you can adjust that makes reading more accessible. And I have found that it's easier to kind of, for whatever reason, it's just a quicker process to get through books on an e-reader than on in physical books sometimes. So books is one of the ways that I actually processed grief. So my mother passed away in June of 2024. So it hasn't even been 2 years. And yes, I went to therapy, but for me, I'm not a big, I'm not big on emotion. It ebbs and flows for me. Like I feel like in terms of like just like crying, that type of thing, it ebbs and flows for me. And so I channeled all of my grief into books. And so the year that my mom died, June of 24, I think I probably from there read 30 or 40 books. Last year I read 57 books. And this year it'll probably be even more than that. But books have really been a way for me to connect to the human experience. It has been my way of allowing people in. And while it might not be actual physical people, these people are real for me. The characters are real for me, and so it's been my way of letting them in, and it's been a way of allowing me to process difficult and complicated emotions. And so, if you haven't seen my video encouraging everybody to read for just 10 minutes every day, you would be surprised the mental benefits and the stress relief that it provides for your life, for your soul, and it's fun. So, books for sure. Bonus. So, last but not least, this is an analog, but it's certainly analog adjacent. So, I recently purchased this CD player. How cool is this? I mean, how just come on. It is just a friggin' cool. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it connects to Bluetooth. And I realized that I had all of these CDs, okay, from like the 90s that I hadn't played in years. And the difference between a CD and like a streaming service like a Spotify or an Apple Music or Pandora or what have you is that similar to vinyl, you have to sit with the work. You know what I'm saying? Like once upon a time, artists used to create a body of work. They used to create albums front to back where it was like no skips. And I miss that. I miss that. And so I have thoroughly enjoyed getting back into my CDs that were just sitting up in a pile, collecting dust with nothing to play them on, because as technology has evolved, it has outmoded the ability to access our technology. And because we live in this techno feudalism, and so feudalism is this idea where Japanese feudalism, where a very small amount of very wealthy Japanese lords owned pretty much everything and everybody else was just renters. Well, now we have this techno feudalism where you have a very small group of wealthy billionaires that own everything, and we're just forever renting, so you never really own the book. You're just kind of renting a license for the book. You never really own the movie. You're just renting a license for the movie, and they can change so much. Like I remember Apple TV, they made some modifications to like Charlie Brown Christmas or The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. And I have watched that, like I know that movie by heart. And I was like, what? It was a really slight change, and I can't think of what it is right now, but it was definitely a change. And I was so offended. I was like, that's not the original. It's not the same thing. And so I have the utmost appreciation for ownership. And you know what I own? My CDs. I own the music in its original format. And I've got these CD cases to kind of organize and get myself back into that listening experience. And it really goes part and parcel to the hang, right? So imagine having some friends over. People have friends over and they listen to vinyls. You can have friends over and listen to CDs. CDs are less expensive than vinyls. I have found I want to get into the vinyl world. Like, it's definitely right up my analog alley, but just like everything, collecting vinyls in the modern age used to be kind of like a cool kids niche activity, right? But then it got popular. And as soon as something gets popular, it gets expensive. And capitalism in the US, don't get me started. And so now, vinyls, they're not cheap at all. It's an investment. And so I'm slowly working my way over there. But in the meantime, I am absolutely loving getting back into my 90s bag with all of these CDs that I haven't listened to in forever and ever. So that's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for this episode. I would love to know, for those of you who are embracing this slower life, for those of you who are embracing this slower pace, for those of you who are moving towards this analog digital hybrid approach to life. What are you using? What are some of the books that you're reading? What are you listening to? What are you doing for fun? Like, let me know. Is it puzzles and pizza? Is it journal and Java? Like, holla at your girl. So that's going to do it. If you haven't already, make sure that you like, share, subscribe to this content. I have committed in 2026 to be with you guys for like 90 to 100 days. I'm really going to try to make an effort to post every day. And I've got travel coming up too. So we're going to see how that works. We're going to have to figure some things out in terms of just, those might be shorter videos. Those might be shorter videos, but I am committed to engaging with you guys in this way and kind of being a vocal advocate for focused attention, for creating the capacity for curiosity and adventure and joy in ways that are more meaningful than just mindlessly scrolling through our cell phones and facilitating brain rot. So I will see you guys next time. Mwah.